ladies and gentlemen, on the last YouTube, and Daphne in this YouTube, Sally Ann, talks about Rod Laver, and I didn't realise that her introduction into tennis went right back to the early days of Rod, before he became an international tennis star. And in the YouTube you'll see this absolutely fantastic story of, I think it was Bob Laver, chasing Rod through the house with racket upheld after Rod beat him finally at tennis. But you would, I no doubt, recall some of the stories that Daphne told about her early tennis career.
Well, there were so many personalities and people around, and they were all friends, and they were all very friendly people. You know, we all felt that we knew Rod Laver. He was really one of us, and of course his cousin Brian Laver, still coaching tennis, still living around here, not far from where we are at the moment. But the Laver name was a great tennis name, but there were lots of others, and I think that really, the fact that Milton was such a home of tennis, such a part of tennis, really attracted people to it, and people came there from not only all over Queensland, but from all over Australia.
Yeah, no, as I said, tennis, I think, will get a huge lift out of the 6 courts, the Roy Missing Tennis Centre that's going to be established on site, and Stefan with the donation of the racket. I mean, just what a great guy, and what a great donation that's going to be.
And it's great having those courts, because when I was Lord Mayor, Hugh Lund was always nagging me about building suburban tennis courts. It was really sort of odd in Brisbane. There were very few suburban tennis courts that ordinary people could go and play on. You know, the people owned tennis courts, and there was Milton in those days, but that was a bit sort of beyond many people's reach. It was sort of posh and smart and famous, but we just didn't have the ordinary tennis courts that country towns always have. I grew up in Southport. I remember at least 2 lots of local tennis courts. One of the reasons I think that so many of our tennis players, our great tennis players, have come from the bush is because they have tennis courts. So it's really important for children now that we have access to those courts.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And with that, we'll say good morning and hope you enjoy the YouTube. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Racy here, Frew Park YouTube channel. Just continuing on the stories with Daphne Fancutt. Now, Daphne, your early career was involved with Rod Laver, but Rod Laver, because before he was even remotely interested in tennis, or very early on in the piece anyway.
That's true. He had a wonderful coach. He was also Mal Anderson's coach. They were both up in the Rockhampton area, and his name was Charlie Hollis. Had more great pupils than anybody ever. But anyway, I was having trouble with my serve, and my father was a great friend of Rod's father, and so he arranged for me to go and stay with Rod and stay with the family for about 3 months, and I went to Charlie Hollis, and actually it's quite a funny story at the start of that, because you know, I looked like a tennis player. Mum made me lovely dresses actually, and I was pretty fast, and Dad was very much a fitness person because he was a jockey and a horseman, so I ran 5 miles every morning and all this stuff. But when I got up there, I had to work on this serve, and so I went down to the courts. Mr. Laver took me down to the courts, and Charlie Hollis was coaching, and he looked up and he said, "Oh, well, you look like a tennis player, but we'll see how good you are." He said, "Hey Mal, take her out on that next court and give her a hit." And I turned around. I'd never met Mal Anderson. I was scared stiff, actually, to be honest with you, with all this thing. And I turned around and Mal says, "All right." And that's why they called him Country. He had this real draw. But he was always been a wonderful person, a great guy. And he took me out and he had my hit. And that's the first time I met Charlie Hollis. And I stayed with the Laver family for about 3 months. And during that time, Rod beat his brother Bob for the first time ever. And that was an amazing story, because Mrs. Laver was the most lovely, gentle person, and I were in the kitchen, and next thing, this door flew open, and Rod went through like a rat into a hole, and behind him was Bob with the racket above his head. And I don't think Rod come out of the room for about 3 hours, but until Bob calmed down. But that was the first time that Rod had beaten Bob. And he had Trevor, of course, who was the elder brother, was also a good player. Everybody was a good player at the Laver family. And another funny story was one time they had a dress-up thing, fancy dress, for the tennis party, and we all the Lavers, and including me, I was now Laver, went dressed up, and Mrs. Laver and I had the old world hats on that you see at Wimbledon, and the long dresses, and all the men had moustaches, so there was little Rod, he was all of about 13 with a moustache around here. And I've still got that photo somewhere, but yeah, we won the competition. So, you know, we had some, and when we were fishing one day, Rod and I were sent off to go and dig the yabbies. So off we go to dig the yabbies, and we're digging away, and we crossed this canal, and we're digging away, getting the yabbies, and Rod dug the yabby digger into my foot. Cut blood everywhere, of course, but of course nothing worries country kids, and so I just wash it out a bit. But on the way home, we're going across this canal, which is from one stream to the one sea to the next. And Rod looks at me and he says, "You know, that foot of yours is bleeding pretty hard." He said, "You know, all the sharks have got to go from that side to that side. They've all got to go from that side to that side." He said, "You know, you want to watch that foot." And I said, "That's where I learned to walk on water. I flew." But that's Australian humour, and that's the sort of fun we had. And every night, without fail, we had a campfire and ate fish that we caught in the day and a sing-along. And I had a sister called Eileen, wonderful person, one next to me, and she knew the Laver family, and Mr. Laver used to, instead of saying good night, he used to sing good night Irene, he'd sing good night Eileen. And we all had a great time. And those are wonderful memories I have.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the special thing about Milton and Queensland, is that people don't understand that it was the centre of the tennis family in the whole of Queensland. So there was really, it's just like the RNA in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Just all
Very
this country
similar.
influence.
Yes.
Come down to Milton and then went back out
Yes.
to the Blackall and those sort
Everywhere.
of places.
That's
and
right.
Came back and went out. It was just quite a thing. We'll just finish up on this, just with the, I will film this amazing little photo up here of Rod Laver. Just tell us that a little bit about this picture here.
Well, this picture is a photo I had. Charlie was my first baby. He loves tennis, you can see he's here. But anyway, Rod was playing and he took Charlie and put him in the Davis Cup and sat it, and I got a photo of it. And I just loved the photo. I mean, the baby looks as much as, say, all innocence. What am I doing here?
Yeah, it is. It's a great photo. Anyway, just I'll clip that on, and with that we'll say good afternoon now. Thank you.
Yeah, there's all the parts.